Honestly, the biggest offense that this show commits is how hungry it makes me every time I watch it. I feel like I'm pausing every goddamn episode at least twice just to grab a snack. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and tell a friend if you haven't. And if you're new, check out the rest of the channel and let me know what you think. Let's dive into The Bear Season 3. Before I had the chance to set aside some time to sit down and digest the new season of The Bear, I saw a lot of critics giving negative feedback towards the plot this season. Many of them critiquing how this season didn't progress the narrative really anywhere, how it was just sort of stagnant, running in place. And I have to admit, I do agree with these criticisms to an extent, although I wouldn't classify this issue in the same category as they would. To a lot of people, they felt this season didn't go anywhere. They felt the writing was a step backward from what we're used to, considering how universally beloved the first two seasons were. And part of that is true. For me, though, it's not so much the writing in general as it is a writing balance issue. I still think the writing this season is very, very good. And there are plenty of moments, especially intimate ones, that are just incredible. What I think makes this season different is that it struggles to balance all of the things that made seasons 1 and 2 so good. With such an expanding cast of characters, season 3 fails at balancing their individual threads with that of the larger narrative. It also grapples with an unbalanced approach to its utilization of flashbacks. Where I felt the first two seasons used this writing technique perfectly as to not pull away from the main narrative, I think Season 3 overuses this tactic, oftentimes distracting focus from the main plot. Case in point, the entire first episode is one giant flashback. Admittedly, from a visual and cinematography standpoint, it is a beautiful episode. I would argue maybe the best looking episode of the series as a whole. But this episode doesn't serve any purpose at progressing the narrative, especially considering the fact that Season 2 ended on a cliffhanger. It was an odd choice, to say the least, so we're already one episode down in an 8-episode season with lengths anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes each, so this season just can't quite handle it. Then there is the fact that one entire episode is dedicated to Sugar going into labor and her reconciliation with her mother. And look, it's a great episode, but again, we didn't need an entire episode's worth of resources allocated to that side story. So, what we're left with is 6 episodes to flesh out the main narrative, and it just isn't enough. I think the secondary issue that corresponds to the lack of balanced writing is the fact that the initial 2 seasons have narratives that are more substantial than what we watch play out in Season 3. I agree that this season lacks focus, but I won't agree that nothing happens. The main thread this season is the restaurant attempting to perfect its operation and achieve good reviews and ultimately a Michelin star. It's simple, but I think it was easier in season 1 and 2 to notice the progression of the plot because the goals were so much more evident. Season 1, the goal was to save the restaurant by any means necessary, to get enough cash to repair everything that needed repaired, to pay the staff, and to generate a profit. At the end of Season 1, Carmy discovers all of the cash that Mikey had hidden around, and that goal is accomplished for the most part. In Season 2, the main drive is for Carmy to re-educate and retrain his staff to become the best that they can be, and to create a restaurant that is all their own, something new. At the end of Season 2, this goal is accomplished. They've created a well-oiled machine and reopened the beef as the new restaurant, The Bear. Those are both things that you can visually see play out on screen, and you can visually see an end product. With Season 3's main focus being the review that inevitably goes horribly wrong, it's just a little harder to detect the story as it progresses and plays out. But this is where the balance issue becomes more evident. We don't actually get a whole lot of time seeing the staff try to come together and accomplish this goal. There are just so many personal threads that deviate from the main story that we need to get through as well. As mentioned, Sugar's pregnancy, but we also deal with Carmy trying to balance his personal life with his professional one, while also trying not to lose himself to become the type of chef he's always despised. We watch Sid question her decisions as she's offered arguably a better opportunity to leave the Bear. And we see the rest of the staff struggle with their roles as Carmy becomes somewhat of a self-indulged dictator around the restaurant. And none of it ever really coalesces into a tightly cohesive story like the previous 2 seasons did. Now, I don't want to disparage Season 3 completely because it's still very good. The acting, as always, is incredible. The chemistry of this cast it just always seems to surprise me, even though we're 3 seasons deep at this point. It's as electric, as comedic, as heartfelt as it's ever been. I mean, the facts in every scene are hilarious. And listen, all of the plot threads on their own, they are compelling, regardless of the inability of them all to come together and complete a stable season. One of my favorite side narratives was Tina's journey from being laid off to finding a home at the Beef. Her and Mikey's interaction when they meet and he offers her a job, it's a beautiful moment. And it's the small moments like these that this show's success was built upon. Visually, this show is just stunning. Even the most simple, minute establishing shots are just mesmerizing. Every scene is so eloquently filmed, every shot so meticulously thought out. It is truly a masterclass in visual storytelling. While Season 3 of The Bear doesn't quite match the success of its first 2 iterations, it is still an enjoyable watch. Even faltering slightly, I would contend that it's still one of the best, if not the best show on TV. It's just riveting from top to bottom, even though it doesn't execute all of its pieces into one sound narrative. I've seen many critics blasting this season as ruining the show for them or turning them off completely, and I've gotta say, if this is the worst The Bear can get, then count me in. Because at its worst, it's still very, very compelling television.